to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, conceal carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Eccles.
And we are back once again. It is very, very hot outside, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And I'm not sure when you're going to hear this podcast. This podcast was a little different. What has happened is I actually got a message from a buddy of mine by the name of Tony Edwards, and he has his own podcast that he just started not too long ago. It's called Inside Parallax. Now, you can find that on Spotify. You need to go and check that out. It's more of a... I don't know. I mean, he kind of explains it just a little bit in the upcoming podcast, in the upcoming segment. But what he does is he's really into doing airsoft, and he likes to talk about how airsoft and that kind of thing bleeds over into kind of the concealed carry world. He's also into concealed carry, and he also is a holster maker as well. So go check out his podcast, Inside Parallax. You can find it, once again, you can find that on Spotify. Now, he got a hold of me, and he asked me to be on his podcast. And that's the first time. I've been doing this for a long time now, folks. I've been doing this for, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. And as far as podcasting is concerned, I don't even know how many episodes I've done, and I have yet to be asked to be on someone's podcast. So I kind of took that as an honor. Thank you, Tony, for having me on the show. And so what you're going to do here is what we've done here, actually, is a little podcast swapping is what it is. Pod swapping, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. I did his podcast, and he is going to put that up, and he probably already has. And then I recorded it as well, and I'm going to release it. So go ahead and check it out. And because he was so kind to do this whole pod swap with me, if you're into airsoft, if you're into like tactical type airsoft, this guy also builds rifles, builds holsters, all this stuff. Get a hold of him and check out his podcast and give it a like and subscribe and share it with your family and friends. Go over and check it out. He would appreciate it. He's just getting going. He's just getting off the ground with it, and everything helps. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Here is my interview on Inside Parallax.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to Inside Parallax. I'm joined here with a guest of mine. I've been listening to his podcast for I want to say the last year. Reached out to him a couple months ago. I want to say but about 6 months ago, talking about holster stuff as I was making my holsters, and then kind of just started chatting back and forth, and I invited him on. He's got a extensive knowledge of firearms, so go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, my name is Todd Eccles, and I own Patriot Defense over here in Idaho. And yeah, you did answer some questions about some holsters, which I have just kind of given up on. You know, I try one, and then I wait 3 months, and then I try another one, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But I've been running Patriot Defense here. We do lots of private classes, lots of concealed carry classes, just a handgun instruction company. I've had it up and going. This year will actually be 10 years. And it was a side gig for quite a while, and about 3 years ago, I got in a little altercation with my current employer, and I've got a very supportive wife, and I've been doing it now full-time for 3 years. I like to tell everyone I'm semi-retired.
I'm sure that's really nice being able to do what you want to.
Well, yeah, until the bills come knocking, you know.
It's always the bills. It's funny when people say money doesn't solve happiness. I like to say I beg to differ. Well,
I tell my wife too. I love what I do, and so I feel real fortunate. Sometimes people will tell me, you're living the dream, and I guess to a certain extent I am. Being an instructor is not it can be really lucrative, right? There's a handful that have, got these great big, run these great big, handgun instruction, firearms instruction academies and schools and whatnot. And so they make a lot of money, and they're willing to travel around, and they big names. And I'm really good at teaching people, but I'm not very good at marketing. I'm not very good at the business part of it. And every now and then my wife will look at me, and she's like, "We're going to do this again this year?" I said, "Yes, we are." I said, we had the same exact troubles when we made a lot more money. So I'm cool if you are.
That's the funny thing is, like, when we get into this industry itself, we just it's something that we're passionate about. So we want to continue with it regardless. So
Right.
if there's any hiccups, we still have in the back of my mind, no, we're going to keep doing it. Or we're thinking, we'll put it down for a little while, but we always pick it back up.
Well,
It's part of the game.
yeah, but that's the thing too, is I'll never totally be done with this. If I have to go and get another job, I certainly will, and I'll just push this to evenings and weekends. And so it's never going away, and I love it when all my competitors love it when I say that. Like, I'm never going away. You folks can't get rid of me, because I'll just take this back to play money, to where I don't depend on it, and then that was kind of the better place for it anyhow. I could buy a lot more fun stuff that way.
Right. So going back to the instructor stuff, how many are you doing this on a regular basis, like weekly classes? Are you?
Yeah. So in Idaho, we'll talk about this. My mainstay in Idaho is what we call we have our enhanced concealed carry permit. And I do at least one of those classes a month. You know, you can't saturate the market too much with that, because you want to get a lot of people at once. But I do a lot of private, what I call private custom classes. So around here, the area is a little different, and I don't know what it's like where you are, but like if I set up a big class and I set it up a month or two ahead of time and say, this is what it's going to be, everyone show up or sign up or whatever, if you're interested, no one will sign up. But as soon as it's over, I will get people call me and say, hey, I want to learn how to do this. Hey, I want to learn how to do that. So I just mostly don't waste my time with those anymore. I just do private, what I call private custom classes. And the reason why I call them that is because people can sign up and they can tell me what they want to learn. Maybe they want to start at intermediate. Maybe they want to, maybe they're more advanced. Maybe they want to learn specifically how to draw the gun and move and shoot, that kind of stuff. And I'll customize a class for them. Since I do those all week. So I run classes. I wish I had them every day, but I'm open to running classes 7 days a week. But one thing that I started a few years back that has really taken off is I have my women's shooting academies. And I started it just as a place for women around here, because in Idaho, where I'm at, we don't really have any set up like indoor ranges or anything, right? And so when the female population was getting to the point where women were getting a lot more interested in concealed carry around here, when they want to go shoot, you buy a gun, you want to practice, you would go to out in the desert somewhere. And a lot of these women, I'm not picking on women at all, but they didn't want to go out there with a bunch of guys they didn't know and that would be out there shooting as well, or they couldn't get out there. And I'm not picking on them, but they couldn't get out there in their Honda Accords or their minivans, right? I mean, because some of it around here it's 4-wheel drive type stuff. And so I offer, this is just a place to meet every week for the women to come and just shoot. And I'd be here and offer them some safe instruction. And it wasn't much. And it took off and grew from there. And now it grew to the point where I run women's group classes from February all the way through November. They meet twice a month. I've got a set up schedule on the stuff that they learn now. And I have a beginner's group and an advanced group. And then this year I just opened it up for the last couple of years, I've opened one up for men. Men, they take they got to warm up a little bit. Like, that one took a little while to take off. And then this year it seemed to take off. So I stay pretty busy every week doing something with those at least. And then I kind of filter in the private classes in between. And then I do a permit class every month. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely, it does. It's funny that you talk about whenever you try to advertise and market the classes.
It's a pain.
It can be an issue, because even me, like, I'm in the process of looking for it to get my NRA certification for instructors. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking to do that. So I reached out a little bit ago to a group of people I personally know. I'm like, hey, I'm looking to do just a mock class. Like, here's the date that I'm doing it. This is the location that I'm just looking. I'm not expecting anything in return. Just, hey, come out, enjoy, shoot your own gun and go through instruction, right?
Right.
It's funny because I had about 10 heads go on, raise their hand and say, I'm going to go out there. I'll be perfectly fine. I'm going to bring my husband and everything else. Funny. By the time that day comes, I've got maybe one. I'm like, well, I mean, we can go shooting. That's fine.
Yeah.
I can a few things here now.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things, and you'll find out. I'm not trying to tell you how to do stuff. You're going to find out if you're going to be an instructor. You'll find out real quick. Very rarely and it happens, but you got to be real careful. Are husbands and wives taking class together a good thing?
Yeah, well, because the husbands try to take over all the time. I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, they do, and so you got to be real careful with that. But we don't have to get into this. You're gonna give me that. That little signal you gave me. I told you to give me a little while ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So
we'll talk about that at a later time then.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. We'll switch that then.
That's funny. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's awesome to see that you were giving out instructions for women's classes in general. I personally am under the impression that more women should definitely get into it, because a lot of times I've seen women outshoot men.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
It is what it is.
Women listen to instructions and they follow it step by step. And I will say that as being an instructor. Now, when you go ahead and you instruct to females, instruct to women, you have to instruct a little differently. It's a little different from men to women. But women, what they do is they listen to everything and they want to make sure they're doing it right. And you can see them build like a mental checklist in their head of, like, let's say the shooting fundamentals or anything that you've told them to do. And while they're shooting, they go down. You can see them thinking about it in their head. They want to improve and they want to do everything you told them. With men, and it's nothing against men, there's a little bit of machismo. I know how to do this. I was born knowing how to do this, right? So it's a little different, and it'll be interesting once you start instructing. You're gonna find that there's one group that you prefer teaching over the other, and I'd be interested to know what that was.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be happy to explain my thoughts on all that whenever it kind of becomes a reoccurring situation. But I think the biggest thing for me is just I've always been wanting to teach people. I mean, that's the point of this podcast in general, is for the new shooters, and the for us personally, we do airsoft. I mean, we won't get into it, but I think it has a good avenue for that. So
sure, it can,
even the kids that go into it, there's a hand in hand for it. So I think knowledge is going to be a big thing in general. So teaching is something I have always enjoyed, especially firearms being like my second love.
Yeah,
my wife would if I said that, but I mean, it's just part of it. So going into it, I know we wanted to talk about concealed carry and CCW and all that kind of stuff. Before I go into that, what made you start Patriot Defense? What made you want to start teaching and stuff?
Yeah. Interesting story. So, it's nothing I searched out doing. Okay, we'll start at this. So, I mean, I've always loved shooting. I've just loved shooting for a long time, and I grew up, hunting with the rifles and the 22s and the shotguns and whatnot. And then I started getting a little bit into handguns, not a whole lot. And years ago, this has been around for 10 years now, so it was way before then. It was probably maybe about 20 years ago. Okay, I had moved to Kansas. My family was all in Idaho, and I moved to the middle of nowhere, Kansas, packed up my wife and my kiddos, and away we went. I had three little girls three girls at the time. Man, I'm not good at this remembering birthdays and stuff. Yeah, and so we moved to Kansas, and we're out there by ourselves. And that was right around and I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you'd remember. That was right around the big concealed carry type movement, right? People had done it for years, but it was becoming a big thing, like a big deal. And that was back in the era of online gun forums, right? I don't know if
I've been on a couple of those. I mean, those are always the anarchist weirdos who.
Well, they are now. They weren't. Now, this is back before Facebook or anything. This was MySpace territory.
Yeah, I had MySpace.
Okay, so anyhow, it was back then, right? And so I kind of got into this, and I got a gun. I got my Kansas concealed carry permit, and I started shooting a lot. And out there, you would just go out and shoot into someone's pond dam somewhere, get permission, go on their property, and it was real easy going. Well, it ended up, I liked teaching people how to shoot, right? I liked to do it myself, and so I would take out new shooters, or I would take out my family, or I'd take out people that, my favorite were people that didn't like firearms, but they wanted to know, right? Yeah. So you take them out and teach them, and I did that for years, and I was just doing that out of because, no charge, no class, no nothing, just here, come shooting with me. Did that for quite a while, ended up moving back to Idaho, and I thought, well, I'm here, I got a pretty decent job right now, I think I'm going to take this out, I got a little time, I think I'm going to go and get some street cred, is what I called it. So I went and got NRA instructor certified, right? I figured if I'm going to do this, I might as well see if there's anything more I need to know, right? And so I went and did that, and it was still with no aim of owning my own business or anything like that. Just what was going to help people. So I went and did that and came back, and the Idaho Enhanced Concealed Carry Permit is what Idaho has right now. And that was just becoming a thing. Okay, that was just becoming a thing. Like it was gonna go into effect in like 3 months. Like they just passed the bill. It was going to come into effect in like 3 months. And everyone was just a buzz about this Idaho enhanced. They people loved it. They wanted it, that kind of thing. And a buddy of mine pulled me aside and said, hey, me and like 4 other people that we knew, like we want to get this enhanced concealed carry permit when it becomes available. We want to go out and take the class. And I was like, oh man, cool. Put me down. I'm in. Put me down on the list. I want to take it too. And he's like, you don't understand. You're going to teach us you're going to figure it out. You have 3 months. Yeah. Because they knew I'd went and did this, right? You have 3 months. You need to go and figure out what you need to do to be certified, to be able to teach that class for us and sign off on it so that we can go and apply for our permits here in Idaho. And I'm like, well, okay then. And he's like, and then come up with a price and just charge us, whatever. So I went and got certified, and I did that, and I came back, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just do this once. They're going to give me a few bucks, right? Ended up, by the time I got certified and I put out that I was going to do this, I was like, oh, I got to find a place for us to shoot. I got to find this. I got to find that. I had like 20 people. They had 20 people lined up to take the class. And here I am going like, whoa, okay. So I showed up, and they all showed up to class time. I remember it was the first class I did. It was really, really cold. We did have an indoor range that we used. This thing it's still up and running. It's club owned. It should probably be torn down. It is very unhealthy. Like no air movement, no nothing. Like,
oh, really?
I probably shaved off 5 years of my life just shooting there. Just rolling around there. Yeah. And I remember it's wintertime, and it was really super cold in that range. It was like it was just like a freezer. But man, we all huddled around. I brought in some propane heaters, and we cracked a door, and away we went. And it just kind of took off from there. And then I realized, man, I could do this on the side, right? And I should.
That's kind of crazy.
I should get some insurance, and I should do this, and I should do that. And then I started advertising and came up with my own like catch line, my catchphrase for my business, which is practical, not tactical. And that I pissed off everybody here. All the other instructors, I was getting hate emails and hate texts and hate messages on Facebook and you name it. But guess what? They're gone, and I'm still here. So
yeah, well, that's the problem with the industry is everything has to be so tactical these days. Don't get me wrong, is like I'm very big on going to training my plate carrier and doing all this other stuff. Like,
sure.
I have nods, so I have night vision, and I actually run all my full bump, all my my comms and all that kind of stuff. But that's besides the point. I think there is still a difference between when you're shooting, there's tactics and there's shooting.
Right.
So you can bring the two together, but I don't like the idea of this industry thinking, oh, well, we're going to do tactical shooting, or we're going to go out and do these movements tactically. Like it, to me, I think it's overused.
Well, here's what it is. And and this is my thoughts, right? I came up with this. I didn't come up with it. This is what I realized the way I see it a long time ago. Tactical, that word is a catchword. It's a word to make money off of, because everyone wants to be tactical. Everyone wants to do what the SEALs do. Everyone wants to do what the law enforcement does. I'm not everyone, but a lot of them, right? Then they like it. And so they can put tactical on it, and people sign up. And that's why when I started saying practical, not tactical, because my core business, right, is the little old lady that her husband died, and she has a firearm and she wants to know how to shoot it, right? The young married couple who they're getting ready to start a family, and they feel like they want to be able to protect themselves. The people that moved here from out of state, so around here it's California, and they saw that they had their rights taken away, and they've never really been around firearms, and they want to learn how to do it, right? Those kind of people that wouldn't necessarily go and fit in what we call a tactical class, right? Or a tactical is what I like to say, but a tactical class. They don't want they don't want to be yelled at.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. Is I think the ones your demographic itself are the most important to the industry and the Second Amendment, because you're getting people who are not usually in this industry into it and enjoying it. Yeah. I don't want to I don't want to put anybody that's been in the industry on blast, because kudos to you. You did your thing. You do all your tactical stuff. Cool. That's
All I
awesome.
do is blast.
Yeah, like I said, it's like, give me the new people.
Yeah.
Have questions.
Yeah.
Ask these type of things. That way we can get that information out there. And I think that's absolutely amazing.
Well, I think that I like to think that the people that, not all of them, but a good portion of the people that come and take a class from me, if I wasn't around, they probably wouldn't take a class from anybody.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got and I'm not trying to talk up my reputation, but that's who the gun stores give my business cards to, right? Someone coming in, you can tell they're new, they never handled it before, but they're buying one because the world is kind of scary now, and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about taking a class? Why don't you give this guy a call? And I like to think I help out a lot of people, right? We mentioned it before. I'm not in this for the money, but I'm very satisfied after a class when someone's is like, oh my, I can shoot. Like, I can do this, or this isn't scary like I was told it was. Or some of the most satisfying people I've had come into class are the ones that say, I've got this gun, I need to know how to shoot it, but I'm deathly scared, just afraid of this thing. I've had bad experiences with firearms. My best friend had got shot, whatever situation. I was by someone when they got shot. I've heard it all, right? I've had people come in, shoot a gun, and we take it easy. We work our way up to it, and I don't care what they bring in. We start off with a 22. We start with my simulator guns. They're pretty much airsoft, and you pull the trigger and the slide moves, right? It's gas powered, that kind of thing. We start off with that because that's enough of a noise it bothers them, and we ease them up. I've had it to the point where they go outside and shoot an actual firearm, they break down crying, and then this is where my private custom classes come into play. They break down crying, and we step back, we take a break, we get something to drink, I give them as long as they need, and then we get back after it. And I tell them, I said, this is your class. I'm going to teach you whatever you need to know. I'm going to teach you the safety. I'm going to teach you the fundamentals. And then we're going to do all this with a dry gun in the classroom and answer your questions. And then we're going to go out on the range and do it. And if we get out on the range and do it, and that doesn't mean you have to fire 100 rounds. It doesn't mean you have to fire 50 rounds or 20 rounds. If you fired 5 rounds and you're like, man, my stress level is through the roof and I'm done, this is your class. That is fine. You've made it further than you ever have before, and I'm good with that. So there's no pressure on them just to keep shooting. I mean, I'll shoot all day out there with them if they want to, but I mean, they don't have to, and I think that benefits them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that, because we're adrenaline junkies when it comes to shooting, and we're just used to it, So right. I think that's what a lot of people who are in the habit of shooting on a regular basis forget to understand, is like these new people who have had bad experiences or who aren't around it and aren't accustomed to it. It is a big emotional thing.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
I remember when I first started shooting, in, like, let's just say I was about 8 to 10 years old, and I started shooting, and by the end of the day, I'm taking a nap because I was so either super excited or a bunch of emotions going on. And I think we just need to get back to the roots of everything and understand from other perspective,
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And it's funny you mentioned emotional, because I also state this in my classes. And you can actually see it, if you instruct long enough, you can actually see it. But I tell people, it's like, shoot, even in the big classes, like the big permit classes, I'm like, if you've gone out and you tell me you've gone out and shot before, that's great. But have you ever shot with, we don't have 20 people shooting at once. At the most, we might have 10 or up to maybe even 12. Have you shot on a firing line with 12 people at the same time? Because I don't use an indoor range, I use an outdoor range. But that noise of the gunshot, that can wear you down. That can wear you down mentally. That takes a toll on you, right? And so I tell people that you're going to get tired and you're going to get fatigued, and I put that in with my safety spiel, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't relax on safety, right? We have to focus on that. But shooting takes its toll on them and on me as an instructor. I would tell my wife, I'd get done with a big class and I'd come home and she goes, man, you look tired. I mean, she's like, it's like you weren't out like baling hay. She's like, why are you so tired? I was like, mentally, I'm just wore out. And I think it's because you're around all the gunshots, but also you're responsible for everyone else in that class.
Yeah, it's a safety thing. I mean, for the listeners and also for you, I mean, I work in armed security. So even like just standing on post all day long, constantly worrying about something, it's mentally draining.
Yeah.
You
Heightened.
have heightened
Yeah.
senses, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love doing it, and yeah, I absolutely love doing it. And I've had some of the most rewarding experiences, especially when someone who was worried about the class, they take the class, they end up loving it, they end up having a great time, and then they let you know afterwards, right? It's that text message, but it's like, thank you. I never thought I would like that so much, and it's just very rewarding for me, and I just love that. And then every now and then I've started helping some kids through like their hunter safety, and that's always I got a 9-year-old at home right now, so he just passed his test, but we're doing that. And so in Idaho now, the kids will take since COVID, they made it so they can take their hunter safety online, right? And then they used to go in and have a field day where they teach them how to cross a fence with a gun, and they wouldn't shoot, though. They haven't shot forever, which bothers me. But anyhow, they took away the field day, and so now I got parents calling me saying, they passed their test, but there's like no field day anymore. But we want them to have experience with firearm and someone to actually make them do the safety, not just read about it. And so then I've been doing that, and that is so much fun. And I've been doing that for a couple years, and I'm probably going down a rabbit hole here. But one of the cool,
that's okay.
a friend of mine, I've had all her daughters over here doing hunter safety. And I tell you what, as soon as they shoot their first animal, their deer or whatever, guess who gets a picture of it? They send me a picture of it, and it makes me as proud, like a proud dad, even though they're not my kid, as when my daughters went out and did theirs, right? And my other kids have gone out and done theirs. To get these pictures, like, I got to send this picture to Todd, I got to send this picture to my instructor, and I don't know, it just makes you feel good inside.
Yeah, I don't mean to make your head any bigger right here.
No.
But being said, it shows your character. It shows the type of person you are and how you treat people. If they're excited to show you something that you taught them, it's, like I said, it's an emotional thing. So,
yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. It can't get any bigger than what it already is. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Same. I feel that. All right, so going into the conversation itself, concealed carry and classes and stuff like that, they're very important. But for beginners themselves who've never been to a class, who have never even held a firearm, like, let's just say for the first time, what should they expect at a class? What would you tell them to either bring or to mentally get themselves prepared?
Yeah, so when you come into a class, I mean, you got the basics, right? If you've got your own firearm, you're bringing a firearm. And I like to encourage people, at least when they come to my class, not necessarily, well, sometimes for a permit class, but even just a basic beginner's class. You can call me and you can come and learn some stuff without a firearm. You can use one of mine. And in fact, what I would do is I would don't be in a hurry just because you sign it. Talk to your instructor first, because I'm just talking from what I do, right? But I tell someone, don't be in a hurry to rush out and buy a firearm. Because sometimes, not all the time, those guys are just going to sell you a gun to sell you a gun. And guns are guns are very they're very personal, right? What fits me may not fit you, and I can't tell you what's going to work for you. So for me, if you haven't bought a gun, let me know. You can shoot a bunch of mine, as long as you provide the ammo, because I ain't rich. And you can shoot a bunch of mine, and we can do that. But you're going to need iPro, you're going to need EarPro. But one of the most important things is come with an open mind, right? A willingness to learn and an open mind. If you've never shot before, then you have no bad habits, and it's pretty easy, right? It's easier for me, right? If you've shot a little bit before, and you're coming to take a class, don't come in here. You need to come in with an open mind, and you need to take instruction well, right? Don't fight me just because this is the way you've always done it. Now, I know there's things called muscle memory, and if you've shot a little bit, it's ingrained in you. It's going to be hard to change. You can change it, but it's going to be hard to change. I've had people that flat up don't want help, and I'm kind of I almost want to ask them, why did you sign up for a class? I'll take your money, but if you don't want help, so it's all about being open-minded, right? And taking instruction and trying out new things and new ideas, because, it's like a tool in a toolbox type of thing. Just you may teach one way and I may teach one way. Or you may teach something different, and I may teach something different, or different ways. Like they may not pick it up through me, but they'll go see another instructor, maybe such as yourself, and they'll learn it from them because they word it different or they explain it differently. So be open-minded. You're coming to learn. Listen to your instructor. And I would tell someone too that if you're going to go out and you are going to take your first initial class, and it's not just talking me up by any means, but this is anywhere you are, vet your instructor. You need to go out. You need to go look for them on Facebook. You need to look for them on social media. You need to email them. You need to try and find people that have taken their classes. You need to ask to see insurance. Do they have insurance? And find the history on them if you can. And if you feel comfortable, then sign up for the class. Now, when you're in that class, if this instructor, I'm not knocking instructors, but they are out there. If this instructor starts to do something that is just really bravado, just, machismo, and is being unsafe, you have every right to leave. I don't care if you paid for it or not. You need to leave. You can't take back a bullet. And if something bad happens, right, you don't want to be there for it. You need to leave. But research your instructors. Just because someone you've never heard of pops up overnight and they're offering the cheapest class in town doesn't mean they're the ones to go to, because there are, what we have around here is I call them fly-by-night instructors, and they are out there. And they pop up because I'll be honest, it's I won't say it's super easy, but it's one of the ways you can make money in the summertime on the side, honestly. But a lot of people don't do what? They don't go get the training they need, and they don't go and get insurance that protects them and protects you. And that's a very important thing to have.
I do have to add one more thing to that as
Sure.
far as when you're vetting your instructors itself. For the listeners, and this is not a hack at anybody in the military or anything like that, so please understand this. I got to tell you this right now, is those instructors that were just in the military and they claim to be everything, and if you see anything that is not safe and questionable, like Todd said, absolutely walk out that door. Do not go. But if they have these clients and these classes that people do recommend because of the way they explain things, that is the biggest thing. Because I have seen civilians shoot a lot better than a lot of military.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other problem is a lot of the military, and I say this because all my buddies are military. I'm currently trying to enlist right now. So there's a lot of situations where they claim to be a Navy SEAL, but I mean, they've never had legitimate training. They were just cooks. So still vet. And like I said, again, I'm not knocking military. I am all for it. Like I said, I am currently trying to enlist. This is just keep an open mind of what you're trying to learn. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it.
Did you see me getting excited when you said that? Because I didn't know how you'd take it. This is your podcast, bud. But I won't play it. But I do a radio show on Fridays for locally, and which I'm actually talking about getting syndicated, which would be awesome. I don't know if they will. I know I'm gonna bring home a paycheck again. Maybe this would be kind of cool. But I actually write my own. It's a package deal I have with the radio station. I actually write my own ads and I voice them myself too. And I just did one that has ruffled some feathers around here, and it goes hand in hand with what you're saying. And I won't play it because it's your show, but I actually have it on my board. But I'll send it to you.
Well, by all means, if you have it right now, I would love to hear it.
You sure you want to hear it?
I do. Let's go.
Okay, here we go.
It's that time of year again, and the fly-by-night firearms instructors are popping up all over the valley. I've heard them use all the catchphrases, like veteran-owned and law enforcement certified. Even though that sounds good, those aren't credentials that automatically make you a good firearms instructor. You should look for experience, longevity, customer satisfaction, and a good standing safety record. You can find all that here at Patriot Defense. We don't claim to be something that we're not, and we back that up by being the longest-running firearms instruction company in the Magic Valley. You can check out our permit classes and our private instruction classes at patriotdefense13.com or email us at info@patriotdefense13.com.
What do you think of that?
I like it.
Yeah,
it's on the radio, but I do like it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I ruffled some feathers with that one. So they played. I
wouldn't doubt that at all.
They play that on the radio, and that's one of my biggest rubs too, right? I mean, and like I said, this is not disrespecting law enforcement. It's not disrespecting anyone that was in the military or is a vet or whatever. But they come in sometimes, and they're like, "Well, I can do this. I can teach it." that doesn't make you a great instructor. You may know how to shoot, but you have to be able to also deal with people. And that doesn't always go hand in hand. And then I see a lot of people that will start businesses and they just bank on that. They just try to profit on the word veteran, just like they do tactical. And that just irritates. I think that's cheap and I hate that. I'm sorry. That if you don't want,
there comes a time and place. I think it just matters with the type of person you are. If you put veteran on the side of your logo, and then you are a hard worker, you are on time for things, you work, do everything, absolutely. Like, market that all you want.
Yeah.
It's those far and few that unfortunately give it the bad name. And like I said before, not knocking anybody whatsoever. I have some awesome friends that were in the military.
Me too.
I have very knowledgeable friends that were in the military, but I've also met a couple of them that don't necessarily live up to what they claim. So, I mean, it is what it is. So we'll kind of move on from that one. Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you 100%. So going on to the concealed carry itself, we were talking about women shooting, and then we were also at least talking about men. So I do have a little question for you. What is your thought on the higher 45 caliber? Is it God's caliber, or is it going? Does it really matter?
It's like you've listened to a podcast or two before. So here's the thing. Let's talk about it. I give 1911s a hard time, right? I have a buddy of mine, and it's not that I don't like them. They're not for me. But a buddy of mine shoots them and absolutely loves them, and I've got a lot of people that love the 45 caliber. It's not for everyone. So I tell everyone, and let's just talk about concealed carry, period. If carry whatever the largest round is that you can fire and you're proficient with it and you can fire it comfortably, and one that you're going to train with, and that's the caliber for you, right? Now, there's different limitations. With a 45, typically you're going to get a lot lower round count, okay? And a 45 isn't bad. A 45 is kind of a push as far as recoil is concerned. The one I'd be more concerned about is the 40 cal. It's got more of a crack, more of a snap to her.
Overpressured.
Yep. But you look at like 9mm, right? And so 9mm is my choice. That's my choice of caliber. And if you look at it, it's just straight up science. First of all, I'm going to hold more rounds. I'm probably going to go train with it a lot more because why? Because it's a lot cheaper. It's during the ammo crises. Granted, ammo is hard to find. Even 9mm was at one point, but guess what? It's still the cheapest, and you can find it everywhere. When you can't find anything else, you can find that occasionally, right? And it's all about shooting defensively. Is all about how quickly can you get as many rounds as you possibly can, downrange and on target. Science says I can do that better with a 9mm.
Mm-hmm.
Because
see, it's funny you talk about the podcast, your podcast specifically, and everything else, but it's funny because when we listen to certain things on our daily bout, and we search for these things that we agree with,
right?
And so I mean, I ask you personally because I do have a few friends and a few people who are like, yeah, well, I carry a 45 because it's the only it'll stop everything. I'm like, okay, cool, but if I put at least 15 rounds of 9mm. Like it'll still do the job,
right?
And I even personally think, I mean, I don't recommend it to the listeners, and that's a thing that I talk to with people. I mean, even 22, if that's the only thing that you can get your hands on, I mean, it'll still stop. Like, it doesn't matter if you have a 40 or a 45. Like, even a 357. I don't know any Dirty Harry who's carrying a 357, but
right.
If you're if you're holding that, then well, I'm talking about, do you carry that on a regular basis?
When I run, I used to, yeah.
Okay, then more power to you.
I had it was a little Ruger LCR, so it wasn't it wasn't horrible. You know me and my whole running thing too, I'm sure. Maybe you don't. Never.
Yeah. I mean, I carry a fanny pack on me with carrying my Glock 19 all the time, so I understand like running or doing anything physical with something on you. But I mean, that being said, like, if you can use it, shoot it comfortably, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you also are under the mindset of just because it is a bigger caliber doesn't mean it's going to be the best thing of, like sliced bread,
Don't fall to the hype.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing we talk about. I'm very big into rifles and everything else. I was talking with a buddy of mine about, I built out a 300 blackout, right? So I built out a 10.5 300 blackout. But I told him a couple months ago that you shouldn't be building, because that's what he wanted. You shouldn't be building a 300 blackout. He goes, well, why? And I explained, because it is your first firearm, your first rifle that you'll be building yourself.
Right.
And I explained at a later date of like, well, it's not that I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying it, one, for price of ammo, you can practice more. That's the biggest thing. So you're going to be able to practice on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because one, you're going to be saving money. Two, the recoil is going to be a lot more. I mean, it's not like you're going to be, if you want to suppress the firearm, then you can at a later date. If you got money, do whatever you want. And that's another disclaimer. Do whatever you want,
Yeah, for sure.
But that being said, I mean, for people who are just getting into it, I wouldn't recommend it, because it's almost $1 a round at some places, So it's just into those conversations of like, if you're comfortable with it, if you really want to do it. But I'm going to stick to my 9mm. I'm going to stick to my 5.56 for training and everything else, and just kind of go from there,
Yeah. So, it's funny because when I started doing this about 10 years ago, I've been doing this long enough now, I can see trends, and I can see them come and I can see them go. And when I first started, 45, a lot of 45s. Okay. And then it really switched over quickly to, that was when the compacts and the subcompacts were coming out. They were a big deal. It was a subcompact 40 cals that were coming out. Everyone came in with them. Everyone came in with them. When they found out they had to shoot 100 rounds in their permit class, they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, have fun." And then I very rarely, in fact, I'm like kind of perk up a little bit when someone walks into my permit class with a 40 cal. I'm like, "Whoa, I haven't seen one of these in like years." They still make this? And occasionally I'll get someone that shows up with a 45. But it's interesting because a lot of your 45 guys, and we won't talk about necessarily striker-fired guns, right? But a lot of your 45 guys, they shoot 45 because they have the glorious, and what they state as glorious, 1911s, right? Now you got double-stack 9s, and 2011s, 1911s, which I call them, they're not actually, they're 1911 variants, right? And so there you go. Like, people liked that. They liked the 1911 style gun, and they switched them to 9mm, man. I mean, that just tells you right there that is the most popular caliber. That is right now, with the way ballistics are and the good defensive rounds and hollow points, you can do everything you need to with that 9mm. Everything.
It's funny because like I'm iffy on the 1911.
Me too.
I like it because it's a popular gun, but I'm not like, oh wow, 1911 staccato, cool. It looks cool.
Have you shot one?
But I have.
Oh,
so
I love them. They're great. I don't have one, but they're nice.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're beautiful guns,
Yeah.
And yeah, would I love to have one? Absolutely, just to say that I have one, and go out and plink with it, But I'm not going to carry that thing.
Yeah.
If I ever get into defensive shooting, it's going to be gone anyway.
And that's the key. So I tell everyone, if you're gonna carry a gun, when you go out and buy the gun you're gonna carry, buy 2 holsters, buy 2 of the same guns. That way, when they take that one and they take that holster too, you got a backup, man. You're ready to go, and it's something you've already trained on. Speaking of 1911s, my buddy that helps me with my classes, he helps me mostly in my permit classes. He a big 1911 guy. Like, this guy buys and sells like 2 or 3 guns a week. Like, he's insane. But he loves, his guns run, his 1911s run, and he's getting more and more like 9mm like variants of them. And he's got a lot of really nice ones. And if they don't work, he don't care how much he's paid for them. He gets rid of them, or he takes a Dremel tool to them and makes them work. And very good guns. But we were in class, and this lady was struggling. She had a SCCY. And she got to fire that for 100 rounds in the permit class, and it was just kicking her butt, right? And just not a good gun to start with. And so we always have our guns there, and if they got the same ammo, then we wanted to hurry the class along a little bit. So we're like, here, just shoot this one. You can still learn the fundamentals. We'll shoot this one and see how you go, because they get frustrated as well. And so I look down the line, because he stays at one end and I stay at the other end, and I'm like, what is she shooting? And I looked down there and I'm like, oh man, it's that one. And so I walked down there and her husband was there too. And they were sharing the same lane, but it wasn't his turn to shoot. And I walked up next to him and I standing there and he's like, look at her shoot. Look at her shoot. She's stacking shots. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah. He goes, I think we're going to go gun shopping. And I looked at him and I yelled at my buddy. I said, hey, James, I said, tell him how much that gun cost. He's shooting like a $3,600 Wilson Combat.
Oh, Wilson Combat. Okay, you should have just started off with Wilson Combat. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and he's like, once you found out, he yelled at his wife. He's like, you don't like it that much.
It's funny because that's the bad part. I'm going to kind of go into the airsoft thing. That's the bad part about airsoft is because you can buy the Gucci looking guns like the Terran Tactical 1911s, you know?
It ruins you for real guns, don't it?
Oh, it does. It's bad because even I'm a big fan of Glock. Okay,
Right.
Say
Yeah.
what you want if for people who don't like Glock, but I do. I I like it. They're simple, they work, and everything else. But I do like my Gucci ones. I mean, they're no longer a Glock at that point because I'm tearing everything out of them and putting new stuff back in it. So I mean, it is what it is. But whenever I look at the airsoft ones, like I got a buddy of mine who has an Agency Arms a Glock 19 airsoft.
Right.
I'm like, dude, that thing feels just like my real steel. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and it's got a double undercut trigger because I do all my stuff to I mean, it's ugly, don't get me wrong, but I do all my own stuff.
Right.
So it's gotten the stippling and all that other stuff on the firearm, and I'm like, this is really nice. I love the slide cuts. I love everything else on it. And then you look at the real price, $1,000 just for a slide. Just the slide, like
Oh, yeah.
bare slide.
But they will pay it. They will pay it.
Well, me running night vision and everything else, I'll pay $900 just for an IR laser. So
Yeah.
can't really talk about it, but it does ruin it, and that's the unfortunate part. Like I couldn't imagine those guys who go out and spend top dollar on these type of 1911s. And it's, don't get me wrong, if like I said before, if you have the money, do it.
Yeah.
Those guns are amazing. Wilson Comet, they're dialed in. They have such
fantastic.
tolerances.
Yeah. He loves them and he's going to listen to this probably. And he's going to give me a hard time. And that's okay. He knows how I feel. We call him, he always likes to wear these Hawaiian shirts. We call him Magnum because of his love for 1911s, Tom Solek, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, man, if he buys a gun, he does not care how much he spends on it. If he spends money on it and it doesn't work, he either gets rid of it or, I mean, he does his, he's got one that I don't even know which one it is exactly, but he's done all his own work to it. I mean, he'll take I'm not kidding when I say Dremel tool to it. Like he will make it work. He will make it function. And he's got one that we call the Abomination. And he takes them all. He has all the slide cuts. He does a bunch of the other, he puts red dots on them. You name, and these things are dialed in, and he does all his own trigger work. Like these things they feel like nothing you've ever held before in your life. And a lot of times I'll say, why don't you buy this one? It's a nice gun. It's a lot of money. He's like, I just buy the base model and turn it into that. Give me a week. And he does.
Yeah. See, and that's the funny thing is like for the listeners too, if you've been in doing this long enough, you'll end up taking parts that you just have extra stuff with. And like I said, I told Todd before the podcast is I built another 10.5. I took my 16-inch, handguard that I just happen to have an extra 16-inch handguard. And I was like, you know what? I don't have a 10.5 and this is a new build for me. So I'm like, I'm just going to take a grinder to it.
Yeah.
So I cut it down, called it good. And like, it's ugly. I spray painted it real quick. I call it my little Frankenstein, but like,
nice.
New upper receiver, new barrel, and just call it good. It's you just kind of get used to stuff if you know what it takes to be used, Yeah,
so, that's the rifle builder mentality. It's something I don't have. If I take a handgun apart for some reason and I put it back together and I got an extra part there, we got a big problem.
It's the small intricate parts that worries me. That's why I've got a couple oops kits for my ARs.
I take everything apart in a Ziploc bag, so if stuff shoots out, it stays encapsulated.
I heard that on one of the podcasts that you did. That's actually a really good idea. And
I've had stuff shoot across the room.
You know what's funny? I think I heard that one day and I was thinking, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. Never did it.
You should try it. It might save you a headache.
Probably, and not $25 for an oops kit or if not more.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to the conversation itself, then, so for classes, we went over what the new shooter should expect, right? For calibers, is there a certain caliber that you would recommend? I mean, we talk about 9 all the time. For the, I don't want to say women. That's kind of weird to say, because I know they can handle whatever we can.
Okay, this is I got a word of advice for calibers, right? Here's the thing. If you go into a gun store, if you're a female or anyone, this works across the board, but we'll talk about women too, right? Because they get sucked into this a little bit more. Because when they go into stores, it's been the latest and greatest thing for a couple of years. But actually, Glock has started to get on board with this now too, right? Is that you walk in and what do you see? Colored guns with lace on them, guns that look little and cute, and that would look cute in my little purse, and whatever, because they're small, right? What people don't understand, if they're new shooters, is a small gun, even if it's chambered in a 380 or a 9mm, which have recoil but not that much. If it's a small gun, it's probably going to be a freaking monster. I mean, it's getting recoil on it. It's still
ridiculous. It's
a
happy gun.
Yeah, and so what it is the smaller the gun. Okay, the larger the gun, the larger frame on the gun, not caliber, the larger framed guns, gun that weighs more, it absorbs the recoil. The smaller gun that weighs less and is smaller and is easier to conceal, that means more recoil you have to absorb. I mean, that's the way it works. And so if you're going to go in and you're going to just don't get a little gun, even if it's in a little 380. Little 380s can be nasty mean. One of the guns, and I know this is debatable. As an instructor, I really like this gun. There's some things I don't like about it. But as far as for new shooters, people who don't shoot very much, older shooters that might have hand strength issues, is the EZ line, Smith & Wesson.
I really do love those EZs.
Those 380s and the 9mm EZs. Now they have the first gens, and then they have the second gen, which is called the Equalizer. Now I haven't had any of those come through class, so I haven't got my hands on them. But as far as recoil, they've mastered it, man. That's like a niche gun. They have mastered that. So look at a gun like that. Don't necessarily look at the caliber. Get the firearms, see if you can rack the slide, see which ones you can handle, right? Ask questions, ask other people. Don't just ask, and I feel like I'm picking on people who sell guns, but I'm not. Don't just ask the guy behind the counter. Ask other people, reach out to people you know. This is the only time I'll tell you to go online. Go online and look up gun reviews, firearm reviews on calibers, on makes, on models. Make sure you're getting the right one for you. And if you know you're going to take a class, call that instructor before you buy anything. And if he's me, I'll say, wait, just wait. I got different sizes. I got different calibers. You bring the ammo, show up. You can shoot all of mine. We can discuss this. And I don't even charge for it. I just do it because I like to go. I've even met people at the gun stores and helped them pick out gun. Like, I don't pick it out for them, but I help them with the process. And
see, that's an extra thing that I don't hear often at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. Luckily with the indoor ranges that we have here in Arizona, is like certain places you can go in and rent the firearm for a certain fee.
Not here.
But even then you're renting it, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're shooting it and you're like, I don't like it, but you don't like it for a reason that can be easily, like, just say backstraps.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you don't like it, but you don't happen to know about that kind of stuff.
Well, and maybe your grip's off. Maybe you're not stiffening up your wrists. Maybe you're holding it via the teacup method. I mean, there's all different kinds of things you could be doing. The reason why you don't like that gun.
And that goes with the smaller firearms or handguns themselves. Like, if you're limp wristing and you don't know that you're doing so, and you keep getting stovepipes, I mean, it's stuff like that it's nice to have somebody who will go with you to pick something out. Like, whenever I was first going into it, I mean, I did this all on my own, and I say that really, I don't want to like a pat on my back or anything, but I did this all on my own, figuring out what I liked.
Me too.
So that's what I'm saying. So, like, you still have to go through a trial and error on figuring what you like, but it's better to have somebody there to guide you through it rather than to have to buy and sell, and because eventually that's going to look kind of odd.
Yeah, because if you've never bought a firearm before, and you know, if I go to Walmart, for example, I can't buy a firearm at Walmart, but if I go to Walmart and buy something, and I bring it home and I put it on and it doesn't fit, guess what I can do? I can take it back. You can't take guns back. Once they are yours, they are yours until you sell them.
Yep.
So a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy to me. Is for me, it would be common sense, but I mean, I guess I know it's not. Common sense is not too common these days.
Right.
But that being said, it's like, even then, if you're trying to sell it on a private sale, I mean, like, are you doing it the correct way? That's the other thing. If it's your first firearm, you don't know, are you doing it legally?
Yeah. You got to find out what your state requires.
Yeah. And that was the other thing, is every state's different. You better hope you're not a communistic state,
Oh yeah. You're going to be in big trouble.
So, well, going into there, so we're coming up here on about an hour. But that being said, so what we usually do for closing out is we usually do it on the beginning of the podcast. But that being said, we go over our weekly wants. So this is whether it's an item that you are looking at, is if it is a certain class that you're looking at, stuff like that. I'll let you go first, Todd.
I got two things I want. Is that going to work? Two things.
That'd be perfect.
Okay, so I buy some big ammo purchases a couple a year, and I'm actually needing to. I've been watching the prices. Prices were high for a little while. They're coming down, and it's down. They're down pretty low, and I usually order online in bulk. So I'm looking at my big ammo purchase, but I also have a family vacation coming up, so I'm trying to weigh out what I need to do. But as far as firearms are concerned, I have handguns. Most of them are for classes. I finally, last year, I got the one I want. I ordered a H&K P30 with the LEM trigger in it, and I ordered it right from Langdon Tactical and had them cut it for a dot, put the extra light flat trigger in it. That thing is like driving a Porsche, man. That thing is sweet. If you ever can get your hands on one, do it. That's my most expensive firearm purchase, but it was
What did that run you, if you don't mind?
$1,400.
Okay.
Man, it was, but I was going to buy it and have all the work done anyway, so I might as well just have it done, right? It took me about 3 months to press the purchase button on the computer. In fact, my wife came up and said, I'm tired of listening to you complain about this, and she just did it for me. But
that's good then.
She was just tired of hearing me whine all winter. That's the problem. But the one thing I would love to buy right now, and I might just go get it. I'm not a rifle guy, but the other day, and you being a custom rifle guy, you might just shake your head and roll your eyes. I do have a couple ARs that I don't shoot. I did buy one the other day, and it works pretty good, and it's probably more the cool factor. You'll probably never see me shooting it, but I bought the Springfield Armory St. Victor.
Okay.
And I like that rifle, but the one that I really want is they have that same rifle, but they have it in a PCC for 9mm. And
you lost me on that one. I don't like PCCs personally.
Dude, but I tell you what, I got steel plates and stuff, and they're just fast and they're fun. And it would be strictly for a toy. It'd be strictly for something for me. It wouldn't be, obviously I'm not going to carry it, but it'd be just something fun. And that's probably why I haven't purchased it yet, to be 100% honest with you, because I have a hard time if I can't. It's got to be for more than just because I want it. That makes any sense?
No, it does. And that's the unfortunate part. Is, like I said, when you're in this long enough, you spend and you spend and you spend, and there's just certain things that sit in your safe for long enough, or you got attachment. Like me personally, because like I said, I build rifles and I like to do stuff like that. I got attachments sitting on my closet dresser, and it just sits there, and it's unfortunate, but I try to justify it. I'm like, I'll use it later.
No, always. I will throw something out there, not necessarily a want. And I probably put 10 rounds through it. But you want my first thoughts on Springfield's new handgun?
Yes. I was going to ask you about that.
My buddy James, he brought it over because he buys them all, and he brought it over, and I wanted to hate it. One of my very first carry guns was Springfield Armory XD9 subcompact. Okay, little brick. That's all it was. Little brick. That was I carried.
The only reason why I don't like the XDs is because of the brick.
Yeah,
and I shoot. That says a lot.
Yeah. And so it was good. And then I moved up, and eventually down the road, I bought one of the XDMs when they first came out. that thing's a tank. It feels like a tank too, but it just runs and runs and runs. Accurate, just good gun, nice, decent trigger, fantastic gun. And I haven't shot it for quite a while. I just got some other stuff I've been shooting lately, but I wanted to get my hands on this. And did you see? I'm sure you saw it on Instagram. Did you see my?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see my description of it? It looks like it's parts from 4 different guns, but it is not bad. It is not bad at all. I want to hate it, but I couldn't find a reason to hate it. Now, I haven't put hundreds of rounds through it, but I couldn't find a reason to hate it. It feels good. The trigger's not horrible. Okay, triggers can always be improved on. It's not horrible. It feels good. It points good. It's like, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, you know how people can get those Wilson Combat lowers and put, like, on their SIGs?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and they're real round feeling. They don't have any sharp corners. So that's what the lower feels like. A buddy of mine's got one of those. He put on his 365, that lower. It's a beautiful thing. This feels like a Wilson Combat lower. It's got like a sandpaper texture to it, which is nice. And the top looks like a Shadow Systems. The slide, the top.
That's what caught my eye. I'm not a huge SIG guy. Okay, don't get me wrong. I like them, right? But because the past of what I've heard of them just going off and not being drop safe and all this other stuff, like I'm not too partial about them, but they feel great in my hand. Yeah. You know? So
the Wilson Combat lower, you got the Shadow System slide, okay, and then on the back of the slide, this is what it reminds me of. My buddy pointed it out. It's got 2 little tiny, nothing crazy, 2 little tiny ears on the back of the slide, like the VP9 has, for when you rack the slide. It just feels like a few different guns put together into one gun, and I won't say it doesn't look bad. It looks a little funny. I can't get over the sharp cuts and the sharp edges on the slide, and then you get down to the lower, and it's all round, which is weird.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It throws it off because, like you said, when they take a couple of these ideas from each gun and they kind of throw it all into one. I feel like those slides with those slide cuts will be more of a snag point with everything.
I see lawsuits, but as far as like trying to copy someone else's gun, they've been in them before. So,
well, I don't doubt those being in production for too long. Granted, if they lose it, then that's an interesting situation. But that probably was the main thing that caught my eye was the serrations and the way it digs towards the front or towards the middle of the gun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and there's no grip safety. They went away from the grip safeties, which I'm not a huge fan now of grip safeties. I will say, the grip safeties, at least they did them right, and the grip safeties were hinged at the top. Mm-hmm. The EZs that we talked about, which I think are great little niche guns, they did those wrong. They're hinged at the bottom, and that's dumb.
Yeah, but I think it also has a good way to index the firearm. Like you really got to be able to have a good handle on it.
Yes, but if someone grips it, they grip it correctly, but if they get to shooting it a little bit, right? You can get up above that with the web of your hand. You can get up above that grip safety, and it's bang bang nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean that. Yeah, I can see the concern there. I got big meaty hands, so
I do too.
Yeah, grab it's gonna work regardless. But yeah, I mean, since they're going away from it, they're
killing the XDM line.
I'm inclined to look at it.
Yeah, they're killing the XDM line. I talked to a buddy of mine who works at the store, and where the sales rep came in and said they're bringing this out and they're killing the XDM line. They're gonna have the XD still, but the XDM is no longer. And as far as I'm concerned, they can take their XDSs and just do away with those stupid things too. I hate those.
Personally, they can get rid of all the XDs because I don't like them. It is what it is. I mean, I know people who do like them. I mean, if they work for you, they work for you. But I don't like them. Like I said, I'm a Glock guy.
You're a Glock guy. I'm kind of more of a German-made fire. I mean, I'm a European snob is what I am. Like my HK.
I've seen your guns. I don't doubt that. That's okay though.
My HK has to have the lever, not the button for the mag release. I need the paddle.
See, my buddy my buddy had one of those, and I gotta say, he wanted to put the dovetail red dot sight on top of those,
Yeah.
rather than getting milled. So it was even chunkier than normal, but no, it felt fantastic.
Yeah.
I love those DP9s, like
You got to have a long enough thumb to be able to hit that mag release, though.
big ass hands.
Yeah, me too. Me too, man. I got buddies that are like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, "It's right there," and they're like, "I'm like, man, you need to grow up and come back." It's just crazy.
Grow up a couple of inches, you're fine. That's funny, but yeah, no, I mean, those are good things. I think ammo for your purchase, your weekly one is, I mean, you can never have too much ammo.
And never, and it's gonna get bad again. It's gonna get bad again.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I also found a site, and I'll talk to you about this afterwards. I found a site for 300 blackout that was 46 cents a round.
That's
So
pretty good for blackout, right? I mean, I don't buy rifles. I found a spot for 9mm that right now it's granted you need to order I'm gonna say quite a bit. A decent order or split it with your friends to even the freight's not that bad. It's $10.50 a box.
Really?
Yeah, most people don't know about it. It's an Idaho company.
Okay, well, you share your secrets, I'll share mine.
I certainly will.
So, but yeah, the 300 blackout is typically out here at certain shops. You can get them. I want to say about 80 cents to $1 a round.
Okay.
So I'm finding them a little underneath half per round, which is
good.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are supersonics. The subsonics are harder to find. They're usually the polymer coated. So, but I'm not running suppressed right now. I'm waiting to get another can. That was probably one of my weekly wants one of them that I was looking to get, because I like my night vision. I like my quiet boy stuff. Dare I say it, my tactical stuff. But I do that stuff on a regular basis.
Was it tactical or tactical? Which one are we talking about?
It depends on the day.
Depends on the night.
Yeah, it depends on the night and what I'm doing. We do I'm part of a team for Full Send, and they do military simulation.
Oh, okay.
They call it military simulation, but that's a very vague term for airsoft itself. But they put on night games. So I've got my bump with my comms, and depending on what buddy I have with me, and we'll run battle things and communicate and kind of run as a team. I'm the only one on my team and previous teams that have night vision, because nobody else wants to spend $3,000 on just a monocle.
Yeah.
Which I get. I do. But yeah, I run with all my stuff, and I think going and doing the 300 blackout that I built, the weekly want that I want is obviously another suppressor. But I'm iffy on suppressors, on which suppressor I want. There's a couple of them that I'm looking at. I want to say it's the Resonator K from YHM or Yankee Hill. And then I'm also looking at the Dead Air Nomad 30, which my gun shop, they took me in the back because they have a little shooting dump area, right?
Right.
He put the Nomad 30 on. He goes, "Watch this." Shot it. No ears, no nothing. Dude, it was the quietest and most beautiful thing I've seen. So I think I might need to go that route.
How much is that baby?
800.
There you go. I don't have any suppressors. Whenever I go into maybe have an idea if I want another suppressor, I usually leave with another gun.
Yeah.
I want it now. I want satisfaction. If I'm handing you my money, I want satisfaction now, instantly. I want to leave the store with something.
I'm impatient. Trust me. I'm not new to this. So that's the problem, is I have a stamp for an SBR in right now, and I'm on day 70, right, on that.
Gotcha.
And then I also have my suppressor stamp as well, and my suppressor's just sitting at the shop, and every time I walk in there, because I frequent there often.
You'd get it out and pet it, touch it, look at it. So how long does it take? I mean, you're talking to guys that I've just never done it, and so how long do you think you're on day 70? How much longer you got?
That's the unfortunate thing is, so are we talking about my suppressor? Or are we talking about for SBRs?
I don't know, either one. it's all stuff that I don't have stamps for anything because I don't do that stuff. But so I don't know. I don't know I know the process, but I don't know the weight.
Yeah. So the wait time itself for the SPR, they say was supposed to take 30 days.
Okay.
30 days to 90 days. But a lot of the people I know were typically getting them back probably 14, 15 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm on day, like I said, I think I want to, yeah, no, 60, 70, about 70 days right
Hell,
now.
you've been flagged.
Dude, no, well, that's the problem is because I called them and remind you, I have all my fingerprints. I do armed security. I've got all my fingerprints in there. I've got all my stuff in all, like, I'm not new to the process of waiting for clearance for stuff, you know?
Right.
But I'm also on a page that, okay, a forum again, same thing with forums. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
They got theirs back. They put theirs in almost the same day I did. Some are still waiting, and some still got them, let's just say a week after, 2 weeks after getting it.
I feel robbed if I were you.
Dude, I am pissed. Trust me, I am utterly angry. So I think what it is currently is for the SBR stuff is the amnesty situation. They're under a lot of lawsuits, and I think they're a little distracted.
They're busy.
Yeah, they are very busy. And I think also we're always saying defund, 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 but they can't hire anybody new because we're always trying to defund. So it's going to take even longer with everything else. And it's sad. I'll wait on it. I want that satisfaction now, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it'll happen. And then, and you'll have it on the podcast. Look what I got. Look what I got.
Oh, you're going to be the first to hear about it. Trust me. I'm super excited. You and a couple of other buddies. This one was a budget suppressor that I got from Whip Machine. So it was a 223 can, direct thread.
Mm-hmm.
It's strictly made for short-barreled rifles. So we shall see how it goes. Because I got two 10.5s, and then I got the 300 black. So
yeah, cool. That's some big wants we both got.
Oh, it always comes about money. It always will.
Always. And so you got any kids?
I do. I got two. I got an 8-year-old, almost 9-year-old. What is it? It's not August yet, but in August he'll be 9. And then I also got about a 1.5-year-old almost.
And my oldest is like 26. So
well, there you go then.
But I still have a 9-year-old at home. So
yeah, then,
and I'm a grandpa like 4 times. So
oh, right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm old. You're talking to an old guy. I look pretty young. The listeners can't see me. I look young. See, it's my youth.
The youth. Well, that's the problem. Is I've looked like I was 10 years older always. I'm only 28. Okay, just reminding you, I'm only 28.
Oh God, I'm like 47.
That's all right. And I think if we can have some commonality in conversation, I think that's all that matters. Right?
Oh yeah, we'll get her. This is good. I like it. This was a fun podcast. I enjoyed this. Thanks for having me on. I guess I'm ending your podcast for you. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. I was actually going to go in real quick before we end.
Sure.
Tell them where they can find you real quick.
Yeah. You can find me. I'm on the Facebook under Patriot. I call it the Facebook under Patriot Defense. I'm on Instagram. That's Patriot Defense 13. And roll your eyes and give me hell. I don't care about me. You can also find me on TikTok. I'm on there too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the TikTok.
Under Patriot Defense. I just like to mess around with them and see if I can get stuff banned. My video's blocked. That's kind of what we go. And you can find that I also do a podcast. You can find the Patriot Defense podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Stitcher. I don't even know the list anymore. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find us. And I try to get one out every week. That doesn't happen all the time. Summer gets busy. Classes. I have this side deal of I run a lot of miles and I enter stupid races. And so I get busy with that as well. But you can find us there. And I've been doing the podcast for, I don't even know what episode I'm on. I never did keep track. I think I've been doing it like 7 years or something, if maybe longer than that. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot. I've been binge listened to every single one of them. So
I apologize. I thank you and I apologize all in the same.
The content is good.
They've just gotten better.
Yeah, they have gotten better. I will say that, and I can only hope the same thing goes for this one as well.
Oh, it definitely will.
I appreciate you being on here, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I will still put your links inside the description for the listeners. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, go to his Facebook, go to his TikTok, dare I say, and kind of go chat with him. He's a great guy. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Bye. And there you go. I hope you guys all liked that. The first pod swap I've ever done. The first time I've actually been on the other side of the microphone. I mean, I have to a certain extent. I've had people come on my podcast and kind of interview me, but it's the first time I've ever been on someone else's podcast. And I do appreciate him reaching out and asking me. Thanks for listening, guys. And if you like this podcast, if you listen to the Patriot Defense podcast, I do appreciate it. Now you can share this with your friends. You can share it on your social medias. If you did that, that would be absolutely fantastic. That would help me out a bunch. You can find us on all the social medias. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I've even got a little bit of stuff on YouTube. Check it out. If you're on social media, like it, share it. That would be absolutely fantastic. And again, if you ever want to get a hold of me, you got a question, you got a story, you just want to say hi, you can give me a call or you can shoot me a text. Area code 620-794-6223. It's area code 620-794-6223. And remember, go out and check out Tony's podcast called Inside Parallax. You can find that on Spotify. And I appreciate you guys all listening as usual. And go ahead and hang on. I will be back probably later this week with another episode. I had plans for another episode, and then Tony got a hold of me, so we just kind of put this in its place, and that means I still have to do one of my own. So he just kind of bought me a couple of days, and I do appreciate that. So everyone have a good week. Have a good weekend. Stay inside where it's cool. If you do make a chance to get outside early. Go to the range. Go shoot. Go sling some lead down range. Work on your skills, and I will be back. I'll catch you at a later date. Thank you, and bye.